Good evening. I am Jason DeFalco, Superintendent of Schools in Blackstone-Millville Regional, and I would like to welcome you to our first Facebook live stream of the new school year, not so much new anymore, the 1920 school year. And thanks to all of you who were really flexible with us in dealing with our difficulties last week with the technology. But we're glad that we're up and running, and we're looking forward to a really productive conversation this evening. I am joined tonight by our Director of Learner Support Services, Ms. Jill Pilagalarani, and we're going to spend some time during each of our Facebook live streams highlighting some of the great work that we are doing across the district within the different schools and programs that are here and designed to serve your children, our children. And so first up is our Director of Learner Services, Ms. PG, who's going to talk to us a bit about our special education programming and what we can look forward to for this school year.
Thank you, Dr. Falco. So I had the pleasure of presenting special ed and our model to the school committee on September 12th. And the focus there was be able to talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So tonight I'm going to focus in a little bit about where we are, because we are building our foundation for change. So hopefully they do have a slide presentation that you can take a look at while I review it with you. The first section of our presentation is our program model. So last year there was a proposal to change our model, and it was changed that this year we're looking at having a Director of Learner Support Services. We also looked at adding an Assistant Administrator for Special Education. And this was a position that we did post for, we did interview for, however, we couldn't find that right fit. So what we decided to do is we decided to look at adding to our planning, teaching, and learning coaches and having a planning, teaching, and learning coach for special ed, which I'll get into that a little bit more in our next section. What we've also done is we have reorganized our model for our team chairs. So right now, we have a team chairperson who does our 8 through 12, all the way up through age 22. We have a team chairperson who takes care of our 4 through 7, and a team chairperson that's PK through 3. And as part of this reorganization, our team chairs are now just not building-based, but are more grade-level based. And it's focused across all schools. So we want to ensure the consistency, the alignment, as well as the supported transitions as our students move from the elementary to the middle to the high school, and then finally our high school out into the adult world.
Could you share a little bit about what team chairs do, just in case someone at home doesn't know?
So our team chairs, and I was going to mention that you'll be able to find the team chair in the building and the grade they work at by looking at the Who to Turn To document that was sent out by our principals. So our team chairs, and I know they're called team chairs, they do more than just chair meetings, but our team chairs help support our the IEPs. They go through the referral process. So if we have parents who are looking for a referral or students who are referred as part of our building-based support team, it goes through our team chair. They initiate it, they get it started, they go through that process, they do chair our team meetings at the levels that they're assigned, and they work on assisting the team in developing those IEPs. They'll follow through with the parents, and they're able to ask them questions about programming if you need any of that at all the levels.
And as we're going through this, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in, and we'll tackle some of those once Ms. PG goes through an overview here.
So this year we started our school year with 307 students in special education. And on the slide, hopefully you can see it, you'll notice that I've included the staff of our teachers and our paraprofessionals in each building, as well as the service providers across our districts. The other thing that we had to focus on this year, I was able to meet with the principals as well as follow up with teachers to look at our special education programming and how our students were scheduled. So they were able to start the year with a schedule in place and services beginning. The next section on the slide talks a little bit about our curriculum and instruction. So I told you we were looking at hiring, and we are hiring our planning, teaching, and learning coach. And our coach, will be added to our current coaches. We do have a coach right now who's at our elementary level as well as the middle high school level. And our coach is going to be assisting in special education staff in the special education programs with planning and instruction and interventions, implementations of programs, teaching strategies, content, and use of materials, as well as the review and use of data to drive instruction. So again, we're very excited to have our planning, teaching, learning coach actually joining us in the next couple of days. She'll be starting on October 10th. Also, on the chart, it talks about increased feedback, supervision, and support. And we want to be able to provide that for all of our staff to assist them and support their efforts in meeting the needs of students. We don't want our teachers to feel that they're on their own. We're also looking at the development of focused instructional methodologies, content, and strategies. And this, so you know, isn't just a focus in special education. This is a focus across the entire district. We also want to ensure consistent access to regular education programs for all of our staff and students. And we're making sure that our staff, our special education staff, is participating in the professional development to help support the implementation of programs. You'll notice on the chart it talks about some of the programs below that we're using right now in regular education, which is our Envisions, our Big Ideas, Empowering Writers, and Novels and Anthologies. It's really important that our special education teachers are just as skilled in implementing those programs as they are some of the specialized programs that we have. We also want to make sure that the specialized programs that we used are consistently implemented across and within grade levels and buildings. Our focus this year is to make sure that we're looking at programs, we're focusing on specific programs, so then our students are using these programs if needed year to year. And again, if you look at that chart at the bottom, it talks about some of the programs that we're using. Ascend Math is actually one of the programs we identified through a trial last year. All of our teachers trialed it, they liked it, and we're able to implement that as a supplement to what our teachers are doing in the special education classroom. We also have Foundations, Wilson Reading, I'll talk about that again in a minute. We have Read Live, Read Naturally. We're using Edmark, Touch Math, and Reading H through Z for some of our more intensive programs. This year, one of the things we're very excited about is we're able to bring Wilson Reading to our district, and it's been a long time since we've had that. We're actually training 10 teachers. And for those of you who don't know, Wilson Reading is a research-based, multi-sensory structured literacy program. So it directly and systematically teaches students to fluently decode, so it's breaking up words and sounds to read words, and also to encode words, which is to spell words. So we are very excited to bring that to the district after all these years to be able to use that in our classrooms. And one of the things we're doing this year, last year, we looked at supplementing in special education classroom for math. This year, our focus, we're going to take a look at some writing programs to be able to do that.
It's a lot going on.
We do have a lot going on. So the last, I think this is our last slide. Our last slide talks a little bit about our continuum of services. So in the district, you'll notice if you're seeing the chart, we do have a continuum of services across the district. We do have full inclusion programs, which means the students spend the majority of their day within the regular education classroom setting. We have partial inclusion programs where our students spend time both in and out of the regular education classroom setting. We do have some students who require a more substantially separate program, so the majority of the instruction they get during the day actually takes place outside of the regular education classroom. And we do still have some out-of-district students in district. One of the things that we've been focusing on too, to support our students both in district and bringing students back, is looking at our more intensive specialized programs within the district. This year, again, we actually were able to expand our programs, and not only are we able to meet the unique needs of students in our district, but we're also able to, took a good look at our students who are out of district, and we were able to bring some back this year. So that was very exciting. So again, if you look at the chart, we do have some programs within our district. I just want to give you a little description of them. In Millville right now, we have an integrated preschool program, which we've had for years. Currently, we have 5 sections of our integrated preschool, which is a program developed to foster success for both children with special needs as well as our typically developing child. We also have, which is a little bit newer, it started last year and we expanded it this year, we have a sub-separate pre-K program. We have one section and it's designed to provide more intensive, focused, specialized instruction to address students' academic, physical, social, and emotional development. We have a new teacher who started that program this year, and she's doing a phenomenal job. We're very happy. In Millville, we also have a program that it previously was at the complex, and it's now moved to Millville. It's our Pragmatic Learning Classroom, also known as our PLC. And this program is designed to engage students in academics, behavioral, and social learning experiences. The services they get are for language development, cognition, sensory integration, and regulation, as well as social and behavioral skills. And we have a low staff to student ratio. It definitely provides the personalized learning that the students in that classroom require. We have a new program in Millville this year. And this is our alternative learning program. And this program is designed to address the educational, social, as well as the therapeutic needs of our younger students. And again, this program offers a low student to staff ratio and provides opportunities for a lot of individualized learning and to address those unique needs of the students who are in that program. And again, we have a new teacher who just started in that program this year, and again, she's doing a phenomenal job. Also on the little chart, it talks about the complex and the middle school. Each of those buildings has an essentials program. And our essentials program is designed to address the needs of students who require more intensive services and support to access the curriculum both in the special education classroom and in the regular education classroom. The majority of their time and specialized instruction does take place outside the regular education classroom setting. However, students are provided with opportunities for appropriate supported inclusion opportunities with their peers. And at the high school, we have 3 specialized programs. And they've been there for a little while. We're always looking at them, reevaluating them, see how we can change them to make sure we're meeting the needs of our ever-changing student population. So we do have at the high school, too, an alternative learning program. And this is designed to focus instruction and interventions with a focus on self-advocacy, individualized learning, self-monitoring, and self-regulation skills. We have an essentials program at the high school as well, and this provides academic and life skills instruction to students grade 9 through 12 who require a modified curriculum as well as opportunities for community experiences. And then finally at the high school, we have a community connections program, and this is a community-based program for students 18 to 22 who require continual transition services beyond the 4 years of high school. And this program does provide students with opportunities to develop skills that will assist them as they transition to the adult world. And the skills are not only developed in the classroom, but the majority of the time the students are actually participating in the community through community involvement activities, through internships. They're out there. What they've learned, they're now able to generalize it and practice it. So they're ready to move on when that time comes. Some of the changes that took place this year. So last year, I had the opportunity when I was the interim to take a look at our programs to see what are we doing now and what can we do better. So one of the things that we looked at is taking a look at what our staffing is and how do we better not only give our students better instruction, but give our teachers the opportunity to provide that instruction. So this year in Millville, we currently have 2 special education teachers, and what we're doing is we're having them be more focused on the content. So right now in Millville, we have a K through 5 math-focused special education teacher, and we have a K through 5 literacy-focused special education teacher. So then our teachers are truly able to focus on the program we're using in regular education and how do we support that when we have our students in the classroom. And again, I mentioned some of the programs that we've used in special education, so they're really focused on that. And actually both of our teachers in Millville, because we're trying to get a variety of students to be trained in Wilson because we never know how the model will expand and change the following year, are actually going through our Wilson training. At the middle school, we are continuing to investigate a model for content-focused special education teachers. We've done it a little bit this year, and we're hoping to look at it and get some feedback. How did it work, and how do we expand that? So that's something we're still continuing to focus on. At BMR High School, we do have content-focused, highly qualified special education teachers at the high school. So we're trying to make sure that the classes that they're teaching are things they're either highly qualified in or have the specialized training in some of the programs. And we do also have a teacher, I should mention, we have a couple of teachers at the middle school who are getting trained for Wilson, and we also have a high school teacher in the process of getting trained as well. At JFK, we're doing a little mini model of what we're doing in Millville. So our K-1 teachers are actually becoming content specialists as well. So we have one teacher who is doing our K-1 math content focus, and we have a K-1 literacy content focused. And we also, we still have inclusion opportunities, and we're trying to make sure that our placements are purposeful and supported with the specialized instruction. So that is where we are, and we have a lot to implement this year, and we do have a vision about where we're going.
And so, first of all, thank you for going over that. I know it was a lot, and for those folks at home, I know there was a lot of information that we covered. Whenever we were talking about that number of programs and services and staff, of course, there's a lot of ground to review. So again, if we've got a couple questions that came in, but if you're at home and you're wondering what some of these things are, or you want to hear a little bit more, by all means, please send your questions in. One thing before we get to some of the questions that I'm just kind of curious, from your perspective as a director that's overseeing all of this, the model that we have now, is that the model that we'll always have moving forward, or is there going to be an opportunity for, adjustments and such as we move forward through the year?
Absolutely, because what we're doing is no matter what model, what program, whatever you have in place, we're always reviewing, we're always collecting data, we're seeing what works for students and what we can do even better. So we're still investigating, although we're starting some models here with looking at content specialists. We do have some grades that we're trying to look at what's the best way, to program for students. So because our population of students is ever changing and their needs, our programs need to adjust based on student needs.
And I'm really glad that that you said that, because that is I think is a key foundational piece to the way in which we're moving the work forward in BMR. In that, we can't squeeze kids into a particular box. I think we need to adjust and modify and change based on the needs that the kids have in front of us.
And the other thing is we're all, as a district, moving in the same direction. It's not that regular ed is working on this and special ed is working on this. We are working as a district.
And so we'll take a few questions, if that's okay. And so the first question comes from Jennifer. She asks, are there any changes or updates to the specific program? So I think we went over a lot of those.
I did.
And I think Jennifer, from a curriculum perspective, and that's kind of what the materials are the kids are working with and the different programs that are being implemented. I think one of the key elements there is that our students that have special needs and that need additional supports need to have those supports so that they can access the materials and the curriculum that all the other students are accessing. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that accessibility part.
So one of the things that I mentioned is the biggest thing is we want to make sure that our students are accessing the regular education curriculum. So that means high standards for all. So now that doesn't mean that the only program they're engaged in is what's going on in regular education. For example, I mentioned that we use Envisions right now at the complex at the elementary school, and we have students that yes can engage in that, and yes we need to modify that, but we may have some students who need a little bit more. So we're looking again. We looked at Ascend Math. We have a couple of other things that we're using, but it's to help support them to develop those skills so they're able to more independently access the programs that we're using in regular education. And our teachers are, when we look at PD, and that's the big thing, our special education teachers are involved in PD as our regular education teachers are. So they're actively engaged in learning more about programs and instruction.
And that PD is professional development, right? So that's the kind of the adult side of the learning that happens. As a matter of fact, we have a professional development day on Friday for staff, so the students won't be in session, but the faculty will be. And we'll be really looking at, as Ms. PG said, not just that specialized instruction, but learning more about that core curriculum and those core resources that we're offering to our students. Ready for another question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Francesca asks, I've never heard of these programs before and my son is a freshman. Who do I discuss these with?
Meaning regular education programs, special education programs. So I would, if you have a student who's in special education, when you're at your team meeting, the IEP won't specifically identify the program being used. It will identify the skills. However, you may see teachers talking about the kind of programs they're using in their classroom. And one of the things is, I think in the past, I've noticed that we had so many different specialized programs going on, and now we're trying to really focus it. So when our students are getting a specific intervention in second grade, we're able to carry that over into third grade, into fourth grade, and not start fresh. So if you do have, specific questions about programs that your special education, the teacher is using in the classroom, I would definitely recommend that you reach out to that teacher. They can tell you best a little bit more about the program and how they're implementing it. Mm-hmm.
So that actually, Francesca's question makes me think a little bit about process, right? So from a parent perspective, what do we do if we're worried about our kid? What do we do if our child is not reaching the academic success that we think he or she should be reaching? And we've brought our concerns to the classroom teacher. What do we do next? Where do we go? And is special ed a pathway that every kid needs to be on? Can you talk a little bit about that kind of process and where to turn?
So in school, we're always looking at what's called child find. We're always looking to see, are there students out there that need more than just what can happen in a regular education classroom, the good teaching practices that go on. So within a school setting, we look at things like, well, how is a student achieving? We have a couple of different ways that we look at that for all students. We're using, at the younger grades, Fontes and Pinnell. That tells us a little bit about their reading levels. We're using STAR assessment across the entire district, and we're always looking at MCAS data that comes in. But teachers should be looking at that as well as parents. So there are a couple different ways that you can look at how is the student achieving in class. You can look at the grades coming home. You can do your teacher conferences. But there are some students that both teachers or even parents may say, I think we're just missing something. My child is struggling in school. What's the next step? So from a school perspective, teachers are always looking at students. They're looking at data. We have PLC, our learning teams of teachers that meet on a regular basis. They can discuss students, and we want to make sure that they can put things in through our response to intervention model. What are some things that students can get? Maybe it's some reading intervention. Maybe when they're meeting with the classroom teacher, it's designed during the response to intervention. I can look at the elementary school. Are we going to focus on that math instruction? Beyond that, sometimes that's not enough. And sometimes the school will then look at saying, we want to make a referral after we've gone through this process of collecting data and making implementations of different strategies. Do we need to make a referral? Is special ed something that we want to explore? And also parents have the opportunity to do that as well.
And I think that's important to just understand the process, and that we are here to help every step of the way, from the classroom teacher to the guidance counselor or adjustment counselor to the assistant principal, the principal, all the way through to Ms. PG, to myself. There's a lot of, there are a few folks here, but all of us are here to roll up our sleeves and to help out parents and students at any point in that process.
Absolutely.
To not only understand the process, but to also talk about what could work, and if things aren't working, what might we try after that. And so I think that folks, really want the families to understand that we're all in this together to support one another. Another question came in from Sarah. Sarah asks if there are any plans to hire more than one BCBA for the district. And could you just share what a BCBA is?
Yes. So our BCBA is a board-certified behavior analyst.
What do they do?
They do a lot. So we currently have one BCBA in the district, and that's something that we're always looking at. So what she does is she supports students who may be, and teachers who, for students in the classroom who may be struggling behaviorally in the classroom. It could be that we're looking to put programs in place for students that are very sequential and very focused in skill assessment in some of our specialized programs. And yes, right now we have one, but we're always reevaluating our programs. One thing to think about, and that we do think about, is because we're bringing programs back into district and designing those, there may be a point in time that we may need to look at either an assistant to the BCBA or an additional BCBA, because then our goal is to be able to address the needs of student within our district and not have to look elsewhere for services for students. So again, right now we have one, but yes, we're always reviewing staffing, student needs, and yes, there could come a time that we need another BCBA or an assistant to that BCBA.
I think one of the things that you said earlier that really is, resonating with me, and I'm sure with some folks at home, is this idea of the district all moving in the same direction. And I know you're very familiar with our district improvement strategy, which is the what, the how, the whole child in the community, or the curriculum, the instruction, removing those non-academic barriers that sometimes get in the way of students' success in the classroom, and then bringing our two communities together around our schools. And you mentioned how the special education work is directly plugged into that, which I think is important to know, because as you mentioned, that's over 300 of our students.
Correct.
That are we're serving in that capacity. From that perspective, do you see anything in our current plan, for this year that we're missing? Anything that, or do you feel at this point we've got a solid plan in place in order to implement and just adjust and modify? Or what are your thoughts around where we are?
I think we have a solid plan in place. That's because when we developed our blueprint, it was all the stakeholders were involved in that. So there were, we had regular ed, we had special ed, we have administrators from every building. So we were able to look at it from a variety of different areas. Now that's not to say something that was not thought of could come up at any point, but I think when we look at those areas that we have, I think we have those focused areas, and we're looking at special education not as separate, but as an entire district. So how do we move us all forward? Not just regular ed, not just special ed, but together as a district. And I think that is something that, not that it's brand new, but I think it is new because we've done things so separately in the past, and it's nice to see us coming together. So the kids are all of our kids. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we have a school committee meeting on Thursday evening, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of the district goals, and I know very much a part of those district goals, is the expectation, and more than the expectation, but the actions that we're putting in place for all kids to show progress and growth, but specifically for students with special needs, that we really are working to make sure that those students are able to do the same thing that all of our kids are, right, with our purpose for our work, which is to develop happy, healthy, proficient kids ready for college, career, and community. And all means all. And so I know that you feel, we all feel, but you particularly as the head of this department or this division feel very, very strongly and very passionately about that piece of the work.
And I think on September 12th, when I presented to school committee, that was actually, our vision is not any different than our district's vision.
Excellent. Anything else we're missing, or anything else we want to share? And we've got about maybe a minute or two left.
No, I just know that, being able to present to the school committee, I was able to give a little background of where we were. So I had that whole year to take a look at what is going on at BMR. So this year we have a focus on what we're doing, and we do have a focus for the future.
And any final questions from home before we wrap up our live stream here? And as we're giving you some think time to put any last minute questions down that you might have, our next Facebook live stream will be on October 28th, which will be the last Monday in October. Same time, 6 o'clock. And at that particular stream, we're going to be highlighting and focusing on BMR High School. And we'll be joined by Mr. Dudek, our principal of the high school, to hear about the incredible work that's going on there. You reference it from the special ed perspective, but our high school principal is going to be talking quite a bit about the different programs and opportunities that await our students at BMR High School. So we're really excited for that.
And I just want to encourage all, if you do have questions about process, about how your child's doing, don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, that's what we're here for.
That's right. So I guess with that, we'll wrap up our live stream for this evening. And again, thanks so much for your flexibility in shuffling the date. And we look forward to our next live broadcast on October 28th at 6 p.m. Thanks so much.
Thank you.